Welcome to Florida Focus, a college football podcast. My name is Brandon. I'm a lifetime Seminole.
I'm Chris, and I am a bewildered Gator fan.
And we are putting aside our differences as rivals, yet sharing in the same misery, to bring you to the fantastic world of college football throughout the Sunshine State. And I'll tell you, Chris, the only thing that made my weekend better about Florida State losing was to see Florida lose. And I'm sorry to say that. And I just said we put aside the differences, but my goodness, I am just as bewildered as you. So just let me have it. Tell me what your impression was of the game, what happened up in Columbia, why the Gators fell 40-17 on the road.
I really don't know. I thought that they might come out slow, I thought that South Carolina did have a chance, although a small one, but never in my wildest nightmares did I think Florida would lose that bad and just play that awful. The last time I remember just seeing them lose to what I thought was an inferior team, but maybe not now. It was, how was it, 18 maybe or 17 to Missouri at home.
Okay.
Just getting blown out, and just everything that could go wrong did go wrong. And it happened. You saw that second half against LSU. You saw that those 2 minutes before the half against Georgia. But this whole game, it was just like, what are we doing? I know going into the game, we had a flu bug go through the team. Florida State had the same thing, apparently.
Yeah.
But really, majority of the starters were still starting and playing. I don't know if it had an effect on them, like physically, mentally, whatever, or if it's bigger stuff, which seems like it's bigger things. That's still not an excuse to lose and lose that bad, honestly. And I'm not really sure. I really don't know what it is. The wheels it started off okay. We started off back and forth, kind of like how I thought we would. They have a good crowd up there in South Carolina. But then the wheels just fell off. The offense was inconsistent. Defense they just gave up. And it seemed like the whole team just gave up. I mean, in the game and almost on the season as well, it was just – you didn't make the goals you wanted to meet. You got embarrassed against LSU. You got embarrassed against Georgia. And I just feel like they didn't want to play football. And it was just really sad. And I hadn't seen that in quite a few years. So it was just disappointing, deflating. I mean, you can use all the words you want. But seeing where our program was, seeing how close we got, and now it's right back to that again, where we're 4-5 in the season, 2-5 in the conference. At best, we'll finish 3-5 in the conference, which is just, it's sad. It really is. And I don't know. I hope it's not giving up on the season, but it looked like a team that just did not want to be there. And no disrespect to South Carolina, but we should have rolled them. And if you're getting rolled by bad teams, what does that make you? You know? And I think a lot of Gator fans are starting to realize, oh, wait a minute, maybe we're the bad team. You know? I think the talent is absolutely there. I think Mullen is still a great coach, but something's not right. And then, obviously, I'm going to talk about it later on, but this defense last year was breaking records for the wrong reasons. And you saw improvements, still not great, but improvements early on in the season. We held what seems to be a decent Tennessee offense to 14 points. And then second half of the LSU game, we just forgot how to play defense. Last year's defense showed up and has not left. And
Okay.
We're making running backs look like Heisman contenders. We had two guys in this game alone who broke 100 yards. The guy from LSU almost breaks 300 by himself. We're seeing blown coverages more consistent, and again, in the defense, in the secondary. There's no pressure up front, not forcing turnovers, and it just seems like the defense was the main issue. We only put up 17. We barely got 7 last week. So offense still has its issues as well, but obviously the defense is what was getting us through the first portion of the season. Now it's just gone. And because of that, Grantham was fired. And obviously the O-line coach also was fired, but we'll talk about that more. But I don't know. I really don't know what to make of this game. We started off okay. That second quarter, 20-3, turnovers, and we can't finish off a half. We can't finish off the second quarter without shooting ourselves in the foot again.
Yeah.
And something funny happened during that when Jones fumbled it and they scooped and scored. I had just put. I'm gonna reference my son again, but I just put the kids to bed not too long before that, and so the kids are in bed. I'm watching the game, and I'm like, okay, we're down 13. If we can maybe get a field goal, or worst case scenario, we don't score anything, we go into 13, down 13. I still feel kind of confident, and then we we fumbles the ball, and I'm like, South Carolina runs the ball in, and I'm like, of course, here we go. And and I'm not joking, I cannot make this up, right as he is running into the end zone, scoring, we go down, whatever, my son comes out of the room. He had been asleep, comes out of the room and says, Dad, I threw up. And I just laughed, and I mean, can you imagine just his face, like he had just thrown up, he's, scared, doesn't know what's going on, confused, and his dad's laughing at him. And because I was like, that is perfect timing, because I too want to throw up. I wanted to vomit at that moment. And so my son, I mean, I guess he's a diehard Gator fan. He knew from his sleep how bad we were playing, and it caused him to wake up and throw up. So all throughout halftime and a good majority of the third quarter, I'm cleaning up vomit. And you know what, Brandon? I had a better time. I had a better time cleaning up vomit than watching that game. I actually looked forward to it. I was like, thank you for doing this, giving me something better to do. Now I can do laundry and clean floors and wash you, because I'd rather do that than watch this game. And I thought it was just, to me, that'll forever be the upchuck game, the vomit game. Because I was like, thank you. That's what I wanted to do. So I think it was hilarious. I was some silver lining, some joy in what otherwise was just an embarrassment.
Wow.
So that encapsulated how I felt and how most Gator fans, if not all, feel about that game, that play, that season. It was just that play, just that was our season right there. Underperforming and letting the other people score, shooting ourselves in the foot. It's one of those things where you go one step forward, 2 steps back. We go one step forward and we sprint back, and that's just that's our season right there. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, what positives were there? I mean, we had a couple of guys in the receiving game. Burke, the freshman, had a couple nice plays, Zipper, Shorter, but other than that, not really much positives to take from this game. And I'm really worried about the future of Florida football right now.
Yeah, I really was shocked, and a Gator team that rolls in a 20-point favorite, a South Carolina team that has shown just absolutely nothing this year.
Right.
And it's really hard to fathom because, going into this game and honestly, mostly leaving the game, I can honestly still say Florida's still the better squad, the better program. So this result just doesn't make a lot of sense. But the game was played on the field, and here we are. Mm-hmm. So you're right. There have to be some answers for that. And South Carolina just controlled the clock, ran the ball as they wanted, nearly cracked 300, capitalized on Florida mistakes. and they completely took control. And
Yeah.
I'm baffled. I'm at a loss. I have nothing else to say except this is never the score I ever would have imagined for this game. I wouldn't have even seen it the other way. I never would have even imagined Florida winning 40-17, much less South Carolina doing it.
Yeah, and they had their first time starting quarterback, third stringer, come in and do this to us. Last year's LSU, same thing with Johnson. First time starting comes in and just lights us up. So, I mean, that falls on the coaches. I mean, I know it's not their starter, but you got to have somebody watching, scouting the second, third stringers. You got to be prepared for that. Unless it's a completely different style of quarterback, I might give you, but it's not. He wasn't. And maybe as a result, Grantham, like I said, was fired. And I think that's had to happen. I thought it was going to happen at the end of the season, but after this, Mullen can't let another day, a week, a game go by without something happening.
Yeah.
When you get embarrassed that bad, his seat was hot after that game. So I think he had to make them. I mean, offensive line coach and D coordinator. I mean, he had to make that move to save his job, at least for a little bit. I think that bought him a little bit of time, at least for this year. We'll see what happens in the offseason and next season. But I think that was the right move. I mean, a lot of people were just done with Grantham anyways. And we'll go ahead and do it now. Do it now. So you can maybe start looking. And is it enough? I don't know. I think the worst is still. I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. I mean, as far as recruiting, maybe even on the field. But it was one of those like, oh wow, we are this bad. We are really. I think a lot of people are still in denial. Like, okay, Bama, whatever, Kentucky, whatever, LSU, they're talented. They just won the national championship 2 years ago. Georgia's number one team, but this one, this is nothing. This is bad. This was the worst one, and there is no excuses. And it's a wake up call for a lot of Gator fans, and especially the team. Like, oh, we're this bad. It's this serious, So I just hope they don't give up on the rest of the season, and because you guys start thinking like, okay, so what games can we win?
Samford.
I'm not even 100% sure on that one either.
Yeah. I don't know. Samford's pretty bad. I mean, you saw in 2018, Florida State came out awful under Willie Taggart's debut, and we still managed to beat Samford. A team who took us down to the wire, not going to lie, down to the fourth quarter.
Right.
Florida's way more talented than that. And I'm gonna say something crazy here. I'm gonna stick my neck out here. I don't think Mullen needs to go. I think that these changes are good, but it's easy right now to forget where UF came from with Jim McElwain.
Yeah.
You come in with a guy who's, a 4 to 6 win coach, maybe 7, and Mullen immediately, 9 wins, 10 wins. Is that right? 9, 10? And New Year's Bowls every year?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, that's fine. You're going to have some down seasons, and, I'm glad you're not sugarcoating it. There are some cracks in the foundation, so let's repair that and kind of move on. But I still think Mullen's the right guy. I don't think I'm crazy here, am I?
I said before this game that I said keep him on this year, and I'm going to give him to the end of 2022. I said unless they lose this game, then I might be changing my tune. Mm-hmm. We did, and we lost it really bad.
Yeah.
So I think, like I said, if he didn't do anything, I think that's the answer. But he bought himself some time, with me at least. He bought himself some time by getting rid of Grantham, doing something. I would say get yourself a new defensive coordinator, and then if you still can't improve, then it's you. Then you're the problem.
Okay.
So, yeah, I really don't know what to make of it. I don't know. I hope this is rock bottom. I hope we don't go worse. But I think a lot of Gator fans, when I say about Samford, a lot of Gator fans still
Georgia Southern.
remember Georgia Southern
Yeah.
losing at home to Vanderbilt because you're like, there's no way, and then there was a way. It's very eerily similar to the way the 2012 season ended. You had a great season, just couldn't do it, and get blown out in the Sugar Bowl by Louisville. And the next season, 4-8,
Mm.
a record-breaking season last year, getting blown out. I obviously a lot of players didn't play in that game, but blown out in a bowl game by Oklahoma and getting what, we're 4-5 now. I mean, I think we beat Samford, but I'm not 100%. But really, honestly, Missouri, Florida State, I don't know. I'll know next week, or at least have a better feeling. But
Right.
I mean, that Missouri game, you could lose that. We might even well lose that because it's on the road. That's what really scares me. And Missouri's awful, but so was South Carolina. So maybe I think we're awful. Florida State's not having a good season, but it's a rivalry game. You've seen that they can make some plays. They've one of the things right now that our run defense is just pathetic, and Florida State's pretty good at the run. So
Well, if Jordan Travis is in.
right, that's
if,
true.
If he's not, then we'll get to that in a minute. Then
Yeah, yeah.
then that all goes to heck.
That's a good point. So I'm just uh, maybe let's see. At the best 7-5, but I think we lose to either Missouri or Florida State, honestly, if not both. I'm not trying to play the role of overreactor, but judging what I saw on the field, I'm like, okay, we have talent, but we have no will at all.
Ooh, that's a good way to put it, actually. I like that.
Who knows? Who knows how the coaching change-ups will affect our team. Mullen, to his credit, is finally starting to be like, yeah, we all have to. He's making the right moves. He's starting to say the right things. He usually gets defensive real quick, and then he'll come back and be like, no, it was on me, and yada yada. So he's starting to do that again. Starting to, everyone's got to check their ego, including myself. Some of the players are saying the right stuff, at least on social media. Especially guys like Damian Pierce and Diabate are very, not pointing fingers, and you're not seeing any stuff like that from the players that gives you red flags. So we'll see. If we go out and we beat Samford and do it in a good fashion, I'll feel a lot better about the next two, but I just don't know, man. I really don't.
Yeah, I'd really, again, just be shocked to see us struggling against Samford. But I've seen some crazy things this year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to go back to week 2 for Florida State. I'm
Right.
tired of rehashing that. But I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge this is the same season that happened. And you're right with the Georgia Southern game for Florida. But anyway, it's not a matter of which program is better at all. It's a matter of who's better this Saturday.
Yeah. So we'll see, but that game was a rough one. So I'm done with my rant. You want to rant a little bit, or lament a little bit?
Yeah. With Florida State, I'll kind of share some things, and not to beat a dead horse here, but this week did a new wrinkle as to why we were differently bad.
Okay.
Or surprisingly inefficient. It was just a new reason why. But I think I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, maybe 2 or 3 weeks back. I said, hey, we're looking good. Florida State's 3 in a row. No losses in a month. I said, we were just 1 or 2 guys away from reverting back to bad habits. Sure enough.
Mm-hmm.
A bad flu breaks out at Florida State, and Jordan Travis can't play. And here we are. And it didn't help that in the same week, Chubba Purdy decides to transfer out of Florida State. He was the third string quarterback, but Mackenzie Milton was kind of bowing out to allow him to have playing time to keep him at Florida State. It turns out, at least that's the common story, and it still wasn't enough. That's why Purdy got a lot of the reps against UMass when Mackenzie Milton didn't play at all.
Mhm.
But he decides to leave anyway. Just bad timing. I mean, who knows how this game would have played out differently. But again, Purdy was third on the bench for a reason. It's not like there was
Yep.
some secret weapon that we just had locked up in a vault to be
Yeah.
like, hey, by the way, we're just going to bust them out whenever we want and just start winning and go undefeated. Nah, that's not the case either. So it just was bad timing in that Mackenzie Milton was absolutely our only option.
Yeah.
I had to look at the depth chart because Rodemaker, who was fourth, is now bumped up to second. And would anybody have known anyone else on quarterback at Florida State? I didn't. I had to look it up. I had to ask somebody else. Geno English.
Okay.
That was our third stringer against this mighty Wolfpack team. But when you have a quarterback like Mackenzie Milton, you have a few things to consider. Number one, he has experience, and so you actually do level your drop off a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Had we not had a guy like that, there's a good chance we actually get shut out in this game. 79 yards of offense in the first half. Excuse me, sir. That's pathetic. That is awful. We didn't convert a third down. We converted 1 fourth down and threw an interception. 80 yards is not that hard to get. And we didn't even manage it. Let's not celebrate first downs when you don't get one to the second quarter, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Mackenzie Milton was dropping back way too much. Dropping back like 5 and 6 steps in the pocket. We couldn't run the ball. I think we ended up with 38 yards on the night. Milton had constantly struggled with reads, although he had a few good ones and a few good passes. But wide receivers just kept dropping the ball. This is what we have. We have the worst or the second worst wide receiver core in the ACC.
Mm.
And you see situations where you get 9 yards on first down, you still have to punt. And you constantly have to evaluate, Chris, it's fourth down. Should I go for it just to stay in this game? That happened like 5 or 6 times. And we're not talking like, oh, I'm past the 40-yard line. It's in no man's land where a punt's no good and a field goal's too far. No, this is like I'm on my own 35. And
Right.
I actually have to go for this just to stay competitive here.
Right.
It was really kind of depressing to see that constantly. I'll hang on to the positives next, but man, you're down 14-0 at halftime. Oddly, still in the game at that point because of the defensive play.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't because of any good offensive effort. It wasn't because of coaching. It's because your defense actually stepped up. You get this roller coaster wave of the defense is really bad, then they're really good. And I don't know, the last 2 weeks, it felt like the other teams brought their B game and stayed just enough out of reach that we couldn't catch them. Clemson just kept missing field goals. And then NC State ran away from their own identity, literally, where they would pass the ball all the time, but decided to run the ball, which is our strength, stopping the run.
Mm.
So I didn't really feel like any of the success was because of our own merit. It was because the other team was coaching down or making their own mistakes.
Mm. Yeah, it's one of those things where Milton came in as a starter and it changed the whole dynamic of the offense to where they were more pass heavy, and I think that really hurt Florida State because they like to run, and when Travis is in, they're a different team, a little more dynamic. Milton is capable, but it just seemed like overall, like you said, the defense was keeping them in the game. And especially in the second half, defense would get a stop or something and 3 and out. And the defense would get the ball back or sack the quarterback. And then Florida State struggled to move the ball. And the defense was doing a good job. And they just like, here's the ball offense. And the offense didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
It was kind of, I bet it was frustrating to see the defense do their part and the offense just nothing. And man, without Travis in there, they are a different team. They can't. I mean, that's what was the running yards last game? About the same, right? if I remember correctly, there's 2 games in a row where you just can't run the ball, and that's your strength. So when
Yep.
you can't do your strength, it's not good.
Yeah, and we certainly have no threat for Mackenzie Milton to run.
Right.
There were a couple of times he took off in the red zone, and
Yeah.
that seemed to mitigate some of it, but that's good for maybe 1 or 2 times a game max.
Yeah.
And you have to do very strategically.
Yeah, and you saw. I did like Florida State's front seven, but their secondary again, especially early on, let them down. Those big. You've seen this all year though. Those big long passes, and there was one of them. It was a mid-range pass, and the guy broke like 2 or 3 tackles, and he ran to the end zone.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that I like the pressure up front at times for Florida State. It's just the secondary really let them down.
Yeah, Brownlee continues to be very good or very bad. So
Yeah, hot or
that's just
cold.
that's just how it this is how it is. So you're
Yeah.
gonna really take one with the other. I will give FSU some credit. Probably the most exciting series of the season for me. Let's come
Okay.
out of the locker room here. So
Right.
this is my positive. We're down 14-0, and we're kicking off to NC State. Well, nobody saw this coming, as far as I know. We actually get an onside kick and we're successful in recovering it.
Yeah.
Even NC State was shocked. And so, like, 3 plays, bang, bang, bang. I was like, man, we're in the red zone already. And then Mackenzie Milton just scrims around, makes a play, and throws a ball where there's nobody within 20 yards of it. And only his wide receiver can catch it. And Hilton falls underneath. To this day, I still can't describe how this actually happened. And you're like, okay, 14-7. Okay, we're mitigating some of the damage here. We're still not very successful. We steal a possession and we get 7 points out of it. So plus 10, plus 14, however you want to do the math on that. Next play, we immediately give another touchdown. So we're down 21-7 right away. And we figure some things out. We got down. Having to go for a 4th down again in the red zone. We score, so 21-14. And then early in the 4th quarter, you're like, okay, we're still giving ourselves a chance to win here. But again, another 4th down conversion. Don't convert. Having to give the ball back. Then they ice it with another TD. So it's just really, you don't want to say, I'd rather just get blown out. But you're also like, man, it's just really hard to watch a team like this constantly squander those opportunities. But I would give it to the Noles. They absolutely have not given up this year. And that is not true from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That is a switch.
Yeah.
And they continue to fight, and they continue to figure things out, and they continue to scheme up ways to keep themselves in games. And so I've got to give them props on that. But falling to 3-6 now, just only really one meaningful win on the year. It's really starting to pile up because you can only tell yourself that, oh, we're trying hard for so long.
Yeah, yeah. Well, going back to that play where Milton hit was it Helton for the touchdown?
Yeah.
They've had that play the week before. Remind me of the guy, the running back who caught the pass, almost got tackled, but ran it in for the touchdown anyways. He landed on the guy.
I think it was Corbin.
Yeah, him. I think it was last year. Jordan Travis dribbled a ball.
Oh,
and picked it up.
Yeah.
Florida State has had these crazy plays, these fluke plays.
Yeah.
And so it's not just all bad. They've had some highlights and just some craziness, but not enough. It's just you're still, losing records and cannot put it together. You see potential, you see flashes, and it's entertaining at times, but still not there.
A lot of times turnovers really kind of are based on luck. Big plays, I feel like you set yourself up well, and then you seize the opportunity. And FSU's just kind of, in some ways, kind of gotten lucky this year. I don't think the North Carolina game was luck, but I see if your best game in a loss was Notre Dame, right? And then your best game in a loss was, maybe Clemson. You see a lot of those just, okay, we stayed in this game because we were lucky.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I don't know, it's really weird to see. It just it's interesting to me. I just we talk about this a lot. I don't know what to think of this team.
All right.
Are they lucky? Are they skilled? Do they have good coaching? Do they not? Do they have good skill players? Do they have good defense? Do they not? We know the offense. There's pretty much no gimmick there. It's a decent offense that can run the ball and has explosive plays, but consistently down by down, not all that reliable. But the record speaks for itself. Yep. And preseason, I had us winning 5 games. I don't see us winning 2 of the next 3. You're right, though. I've been writing off the Florida game. That game will actually be very competitive now. And I think either team could really come out on top, and neither one would surprise.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about Miami in a second. Miami's clicking at the wrong time for us. Boston College finally got their main quarterback back. Yeah. We'll see if that pays dividends. It's hard to know.
Yeah. I really don't know where Florida State will be in 2 weeks. I don't know where Florida will be in a couple weeks. So right now, I mean, that might be your best bet to win.
I probably get the edge to Boston College, but it's close.
Yeah.
There might be a coin flip now.
So both are on the road, though.
Yep.
That's right. I mean, I clearly, just talent-wise, Florida's the better of Boston College.
Yep. Yeah.
But, I mean, you've seen it before. You get rivalry games, there's no telling. We are at home in the swamp. That helps us big time. But how excited will our fans be if we lose Missouri the week before? Right? So who knows? I'm not that confident.
Well, we both have 2 weeks to turn things around before that matchup shows up. You can tell in our voices, listeners, we're not very excited about that game right now.
No, it's not. It's gonna be.
And I mean, you want bragging rights, but also whoever wins, you're still ugh, we won, but
it might be. It's probably an ugly game.
Yeah.
Ugh. It's one of those games you're at home and favored, yet you're not looking forward to that game. It's weird. It's really weird. All right, so let's move on past that mess that was last week.
Yes, please.
Oh, I feel like we said that a lot this year, but
yeah, I know.
Let's do it again. Let's move on past it.
Yeah. Let's see. Miami beats Georgia Tech.
Yeah, they hold on to win.
To keep reeling. Yes, that was interesting. Kind of the way that game ended, and these divisional games and the Coastal especially always seem to go this way, but. Yet here we are talking about Miami winning another game, which is 3 in a row, 2 against ranked teams. They really probably figure something out here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm liking the way they look on offense. Their defense is you called it last week. They're not elite anymore. You shouldn't be giving 30 at home to Georgia Tech. I'm sorry. If you're a Manny Diaz coach team, you shouldn't be, and they are. But for them, the offense is clicking, especially in the passing game with Van Dyke. And I've called his name several times again. Rambo, 200 yards and a touchdown in the receiving game. I think he might be in the lead for the Offensive Player of the Year for our award show.
Ooh, good point.
I can't think of anybody else that really just stands out on offense. Putting together a nominee list is going to be tough. And I don't know. But I've been impressed by him. Kingston on the ground, 162 yards and a touchdown as well. So that offense is clicking for them, and they need it because our defense not the same as before.
Yeah, very true. Man, you remind me. I start considering my candidates, but that's a good one because you would think that there would be some standouts, but Florida's still been consistent. Their stars just really get divvied up possessions and touches. Florida State has some chances with some running backs, but again, it's a 3-headed monster on the nights that it works. And Rambo kind of benefited. A couple of guys left, and Van Dyke comes in, and he's just primary target. So like a month
Mhm.
ago, we wouldn't have seen this coming, but yeah, here we
Yeah.
are. And yeah, it's probably going to be a different approach for Diaz the rest of the season, and he's going to have to follow the same formula. It just seems to be working, but the last several games you've given up 30, 45, 30, 34, 30.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what you are. You're just going to
Yeah.
be in a Big 12 type of scheme the rest of the year where you're going to get a lot of possessions, a lot of points. You just have to outscore. And then we'll talk about UCF in a second. Then you'll have 1 or 2 games a season. And you're like, okay, I'm going to have to win by scoring 14. So you have to be prepared on those off days when the wind is bad or it's raining or you have receivers drop passes or you have an unlikely injury or you have a flu bug run through your university.
Yeah.
Where you're just limited personnel or, God forbid, COVID, if we're not past that. And you have to figure some things out. But generally, we've seen in the past month, defense get a lot of points and the offense is going to outscore it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I really thought that halfway through the game, like, oh, they're going to blow it because they do this every now and then.
Yeah.
Like, and I think it was a couple of years ago. It was at home to Georgia Tech too. They lost. So I thought for sure they're going to blow it, but credit to them. They seem like they can win those games now. But I don't know. I really don't know what to. I mean, all the teams in the state, I don't know what to make of them. But at least they're the one that at least the most competent out of all the teams so far.
Yeah, they seem to have uptick. When you fall to 2-4, we all wrote them off. We're like, okay, it's over.
Right,
They're giving up on the season. And yet, like I said, 3 wins in a row, and against pretty good teams in the ACC.
Mm-hmm.
But the other question in the back of your mind is when does that ACC Wheel of Destiny just roll back?
Yeah.
And then they just lose some really dumb game. I would love for it to be this Saturday. That would be wonderful. But here's to hoping. They also only have Virginia Tech and Duke left after Florida State.
Okay.
Not the toughest of matchups, especially Duke.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
we'll see.
It'll be a fun one though.
Indeed.
All right. So let's see. Talking about Tulane and UCF, and the outcome is what I expected. How we got there in the score, completely shocked. UCF wins 14-10 against Tulane.
They struggle and trail in the second half in this game. Just uncharacteristic. They still hold on to win at home, but not impressive. But they do climb to 6-3.
Mm-hmm.
And the only team in the state of Florida bowl eligible.
Wow.
The 6-3
I didn't realize that.
Knights, yes.
Wow, good for them.
The other teams, you're like, I don't know.
Everyone's in jeopardy besides them.
Isn't that crazy? So, God, that would be a really sad day. Anyway, not going to think about that yet. 3 weeks left. Mm-hmm. But yes, a defensive struggle, and man, did not see it come from the Knights. You thought when you saw this against East Carolina that was an anomaly and a one-off. Apparently it's not, and the offense still continues to find its own identity with O'Keefe, with the other wide receivers, and still getting things collaborated. Dylan Gabriel may be back this week. FYI, little teaser.
Okay.
Don't know if he's going to start. May get some touches. May actually be healed. But it's obvious. We've known this for 6 weeks now that when he's out, it's a very different type of team. And Gus Malzahn had his own injury in this game. He broke his tibia. I don't know if it was during celebration or he got tackled. He got hit on the sideline. Something crazy.
I think he got hit on the sideline, but I think I saw that. But I saw a headline that he got hurt.
There you go. So
yeah,
even the coach is not immune to injury.
Wow,
that's just funny to me. But
very rare.
yeah. The coaches usually don't get injured.
Yeah.
But yeah, I certainly did not see that coming. But I did expect them to win. Tulane still struggles. Tulane has just had a murderous schedule.
Yeah.
It started the season with Oklahoma, and then it just kept getting, and then Cincinnati, and then they played all of the best teams. Yeah, and they played all of the best teams in the American. They drew all of the toughest ones. So
okay,
I don't blame them for such a terrible outing, really, given the program that they are. But gosh, no luck. No luck for the Tulane
Yeah.
Green Wave. No.
Bad beat, man. Okay. And then let's go Houston beating South Florida in a shootout, complete opposite
Right.
from our the UCF game, 54-42. And this one was pretty close, and a tight one there for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean the 42 points, especially over the Bulls, that probably one of their best outings of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that probably Houston's kind of moved on to, hey, we're going to the Big 12, and they've after D'Eriq King has left, kind of a shift in approach to how the offense and everything is run with Holgerson, but still can't get the W, and still only 2 wins on the season for the Bulls, and it's God, the frustration is going to be mounting. Tampa.
Yeah, absolutely. They were up at halftime by 2, and then didn't do. And they gave up 4 touchdowns in the second half to their 2. So that's kind of the difference was there. But South Florida does this. They'll put up a fight and they'll make you nervous for a little bit, but they cannot pull it out again against Houston.
Yeah, there's too many mistakes, and it's in the special teams game. It's not having enough offensive production.
Yeah.
They'll get there eventually, but it's not going to be this year.
No. And then, let's see. Marshall goes on the road and beats FAU 28-13.
Yeah, what the heck?
Yeah. FAU was on the right track and then just derailed by the Thundering Herd.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to think of the Owls anymore. I'm starting to lose a lot of confidence here. This bumps them down to 5-4. This was probably a swing game, really.
Right.
If you win, you're at 6-3. You still have contention for the defense, but they're really on the outside looking in now.
Yeah. They have 3 games left. Who they got? Trying to just curious. Old Dominion, West Kentucky, Middle Tennessee. They might get 2. At Western Kentucky be tough.
Yeah.
But yeah, they had won a couple in a row. But man, that's at home too. That's what really threw me for a loop there.
Yeah, and on the road against UAB, you can kind of excuse that loss, but
Right.
I really thought they would turn things around, and for me, I was like, they really need one loss the rest of the way of the season, and here we are, our second one. So.
Yeah, and they were winning. They were winning at halftime. They were winning early into the. They were up at. So I'm looking at the wrong thing. They were up early and then didn't do anything in the second half. Yeah. So that's what did them in.
But their defense constantly keeps them in games, and the offense, they're trying to figure things out, trying to switch out quarterbacks. I'm not sure, but. I don't know. I think it's even now with a couple of wins, it's too little, too late. And you're probably right. I would say 2 of the next 3. Give me favorite end one.
Yeah. And then let's just round out the state and just the awful week from the state with FIU losing to Old Dominion at
going
home.
down. And here we go, Chris. I had my doubts, and you didn't. Butch Davis will not survive this season.
Yeah,
he's
you gone, man.
1-7. Is that what they're at
8.
now?
I think it's 8. I think they lost 8 in a row.
Butch Davis will not be returning in 2022 for the coach of the Panthers. And I really thought they would ride this out. He was a decent guy. Obviously, with his prowess with UNC and Miami, I thought that was enough clout. And it would keep him on, but the losses just kept piling up and there's no improvement. And you were there. Nobody's going to games. You're losing to Western Kentucky, having to bring in DJs. It's not a good sign.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's not even that it's not just that they're losing, but they're not close in these games.
Yeah.
And offense. I mean, at least they scored points this time. That's good. But they gave up 47. So
yeah,
the writing was on the wall for Davis for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, this is all based on reports we're seeing, but it seems pretty obvious, and no one should be surprised that he's probably not coming back.
Right.
So yeah, it's going to be tough to even see FIU winning one more the rest of the year.
Yeah. Now, Do you think Davis is done?
I.
Like, where do you go from?
That's a good question. You couldn't make it at a G5. You drug him down. It's maybe
Hmm.
time to move to AD somewhere.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Go back to the Hurricanes and be the alumni booster or something,
yeah. There we
some
go.
jazz like that. You know, it's not a terrible fit. You know, it would work for a while.
So kind of basically what Spurrier does for Florida. So
Oh, there you
might as
go.
well.
Yeah, he might have to hang up the
Yeah.
whistle. That's a good point. I never thought about that, but this may be it for him.
Hmm. All right. So that is it for week 11,
Yeah,
or 10. Is that week 10? I think it was week 10.
it was 10. Yeah, going into 11.
Okay. So let's again move from an awful week to the state of Florida and go to
I
hopefully not another awful
I
week.
don't I don't I don't think you have a lot to say about UF Sanford, do you?
I don't know. Hopefully we're healthy. Richardson should be playing. I'm curious to see what his role is versus Jones. Who do you start? I would guess you start Jones just because you're familiar with him. Richardson's coming off an injury and an illness. Um, so yeah, I really don't know. I'm very curious to see how our defense responds with Grantham gone, or our O line responds. Um, I really don't know how to. Obviously we're favored. We're the better team, but I don't know, man. I really don't know what to make of this game. I think Florida wins, but I would not be surprised if it's a close one. I would not be surprised if it's just ugly and we just outlast them, honestly.
Okay.
Um, I really don't know how many points to give us and how many points to give them. I'm going to go. I mean, my confidence is real low in this. I'm going to go like 24-10. Um, it should be more,
Jeez.
maybe even more, but my confidence is just. I don't know what to think of our
I
team.
guess I get where you're coming from. I get it. I do.
Because I
Um,
mean, if you look at, I know it's Samford, but if you look at last week, there's no reason we get blown out by 23. Yet it happened.
it's true.
It happened. So until I'm proven otherwise, what I'm seeing, you go on the road to Kentucky and lose. You go on the road to LSU and you lose. I mean, Georgia and Alabama are the only ones I'll give you. The other ones, I mean, I just don't get it. So I'm guessing it's going to be a low scoring, ugly 24-10. You know what? I'm going to go 27-10.
Oh,
I'm going to
don't go
give us a
crazy.
little bit. I know. 27-10 Gators in an ugly one. Um, I hope I'm wrong on this one, but I got nothing. I got nothing for
I mean,
them right
I
now.
think you're probably wrong, honestly. I'm going 37-13 Gators.
Okay.
Sanford, sure, competitive in Division Two. It's not even the same league. It's not even close. And I get our concerns, especially given Florida State and Jacksonville State this year and Georgia Southern in the past. But the skill level just really shows itself in games like this.
Yeah.
And UF just plays differently at home. They really do. Only one loss. Bama was a home game, right? That's the only loss at home. As far as I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
At home, just a different squad.
Yeah. I'm just curious. Like, honestly, like, I'm not being facetious. I don't know who's going to be there. It's a noon game. We
True.
just lost 3 in a row. It's Samford.
That's true.
I don't even know. I just don't. I think the morale of the fan base is so low. I think a lot of people are apathetic to this team now. So I don't know if that's much of as an advantage as it has been in the past.
That's fair.
So I still think we win, but I think it's going to be an ugly one, man. I don't think fans are going to be much more happy or pleased after the game.
Okay.
So,
Understood.
but I hope I'm wrong. I really do. But until I'm at this point, like, okay, until I see it, I'm not going to believe it. That's where I'm at. I think a lot of fans are like that too.
I got it.
Oh.
So, well, maybe if they score 60 plus, that would put some hope in the.
That would help.
Yeah.
That would help.
It's kind of a win-lose game. I kind of feel.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Meanwhile, on the other side of the state, just a couple hours up the road, here is the headline from CBS Sports on this game, Chris.
Okay.
There was a time when Florida State and Miami was arguably the best rivalry in college football. That's the article for CBS Sports. That's how they started it.
Ugh.
Ew, he's right. You want to rewind this matchup 20 years ago? Totally different story. But here we are, 3-6 versus 5-4, and this is probably the latest time in the year Force has played Miami. It's the latest that I've ever known it to be played.
Okay.
It's been bumped up as early as week 1. You and I have seen that in person, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Or they've usually played it early mid-October. But as far as I know, never this late in the year. Doesn't help Florida State's case here. I was thinking, if we played this game 3 weeks ago, looking good. Miami falls to Virginia on a last-second field goal. They fall to a losing record. FSU is feeling confident after being like a Syracuse team. Who knows, right?
Right.
Now this game plays out totally different. If Jordan Travis is healthy, then we're hopefully going to be able to run the ball all over this Hurricane defense because we've seen they can't stop anybody. And they would give up explosive plays. I'm just going to go with the assumption he's back. And I think we can probably score in the high 20s here. That's given us a lot of credit because we've done that a couple of times this year against meaningful competition, but not on a regular basis. We're probably a low to mid-20s type of team. So if I give us 28 points here, I have to ask myself, is that enough?
All
right. So first of all, 28 points is assuming a couple of things. We get a couple of big plays. Jordan Travis plays and plays well, and we don't shoot ourselves in the foot. So the question I have to ask myself on the flip side of that coin is, can this defense, Chris, stop Miami? The secondary has proven they cannot. That's probably the biggest concern right there. Will we give up stupid personal foul penalty? Will we have some kind of, oops, I'm getting beat, let's just tug on his jersey to get past interference, not to give up a touchdown? Will Rambo be able to do what he's been doing all season long? And if it's one wide receiver, usually for a defense, I would say, I don't think that's the case. But I have serious doubts with this one. Mm-hmm. Especially also considering that Miami will run the ball, but not a lot, and that's the best thing we do if we stop the run. Mm-hmm. So I feel pretty confident we can make Miami one-dimensional here. On the road, Miami doesn't seem to affect them too much, but they do play a little bit differently. And FSU, just talent-wise, is it really home field advantage kind of deal? You were saying about that Sanford, you're like, does anyone really care at this point? Mm-hmm. Does it really matter? Yeah, maybe a little bit. But it's certainly not that huge 3 or 4 point spread that you would usually get. I don't feel like we've earned that this season. So I have a lot of concerns going into this one, considering also that Miami has really almost kind of blown us out the last 2 seasons. Last year they definitely did. It was like 52-10. If it's not the exact score, I don't care to look it up. So correct me if you want. And then 2 years ago, it was so bad that Willie Taggart got fired. So
yeah,
it's just not been a good game of late, and it's been something I'm trying to block out. I see very, very few ways Florida State wins this game. So I'm going to give the Canes the edge here in a close one, but I'll take it 34-27 Canes. They can't seem to separate enough or manage a team out because they just give up too much on defense. And so I do think the Noles can probably keep it one possession, but I don't know if the 2.5, 3 point spread, they can do that.
Okay. Yeah, it's a interesting because it seems like Miami's starting to get a rhythm in the passing game, and Florida State struggled with that. I'm not going to discredit the fact that it's a rivalry game. Florida State does not like Miami.
Yeah.
although Miami is on a 3-game win streak, this last game did not impress me against Georgia Tech, especially on the defense. And Florida State has the potential to pop a big play here and there. Sometimes luck, sometimes not. If Jordan Travis is playing, I think that's a huge boost for Florida State. They can run the offense they want to run. Yeah. I do like Florida State's D line. If they can get some pressure on Van Dyke and force some turnovers, who knows? It is home field. I see what you're saying about maybe not as big of an advantage, but it's different than Florida Stanford. It's Miami. I think a lot of people will show up for that game, even though both teams aren't where they used to be. Miami is giving up a lot of points on defense. I think you said, was it 4 straight games of 30 or something like that?
Yeah.
So that definitely favors Florida State. I don't know if it's enough. Do like Miami's special teams. I think that gives them a slight edge. I'm going to go Miami in a very close one, 31-28.
Missed field goal at the end, force it to lose?
Maybe.
Okay.
Or Miami kicks one to win it.
Okay. That's special teams.
I would not be, honestly, would not be surprised if Florida State wins this game. I would not be surprised at all. The line is 2.5 for Miami.
Yeah.
I think it's about right. I'd say Miami, I guess, covers it and gets the 3, but I would not be shocked if Florida State comes away with a victory in this game. Not at all.
There are definitely ways we can do it. The ways I mentioned, but also Florida State, our offense actually does pretty well in the passing game if the team plays a lot of zone. But we've given enough looks and we've failed enough to succeed against those types of defenses so far. The teams have said, you know what? Even if I should play zone here, I'm going to play man anyway because I know I can beat you, and they're almost always right. So we've got to prove that we can come out and punch them in the mouth.
Yeah.
We've got to get that fire we had the second half of NC State, or that fire we had against North Carolina, where offensive line were getting a push. Mm-hmm. And I think they do play that way for Jordan Travis. Maybe it was just a scheme. Not that they wouldn't play that way for Milton, but it's such a difference in scheme, they just weren't prepared.
Okay.
Because I think Milton is the kind of leader that you really want on your team. Yeah. And as far as quarterback, his style is just so very different. He would need a season 2, maybe 3, to build up his guys and get that going. And he came in as a temporary solution, and he knows that. And you've really kind of decided to build your offense around Travis, and that's the way you got to keep going.
Yeah. I'm very curious to see what it is going to be. So any word on Travis, or you just speculating that he'll be back?
I'm pretty sure he's back. There was he was almost healthy to go against NC State, but I think he was just not quite there. And since it was flu, that was kind of a thing where you can get IVs and you can just get hydrated and you're probably good to go.
Yeah.
But I think it hit him probably late enough in the week. He couldn't go out there and make it happen.
Yeah. If Florida State, I think Florida State's best bet is a low scoring game. If it's a shootout, you got to side with Miami on that one.
Yeah, we just can't put up points. That you're right.
Right. So you need to don't get down early. You don't want to have to come back. Win the turnover battle and keep it low scoring. Those are your keys to victory, as they say. So I think Miami wins, but I would not be shocked at all if Florida State comes away.
I'd be thrilled. I would be kind of shocked if I were to. I would say 66% chance Miami wins this game. Mm-hmm. But again, you're right. It is rivalry, and some funky things have happened. I mean, recent years haven't really favored us. I understand that.
Right.
But let's also not forget, this is actually the first game Norvell's coached against Miami.
No.
Last year he was out with COVID. He did not coach.
Ah, okay. I was like, hold up.
So
trying to do the math in my head.
Technically, I'm going to throw that out there. We'll see.
Right.
He also has not played Florida.
Yeah.
So against real meaningful. This was the first time, I guess, if you want to throw Clemson in there, which I don't, considering the rival, you know that. Played them pretty well.
Yeah.
Given the situation.
They got up for Notre Dame. They got up for North Carolina.
Yeah. Proof in the pudding. We didn't give up. He came with a solid game plan and has pretty much for every big game so far.
Yeah.
There's one glaring exception. Okay. Anyway, I'm moving on.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay,
let's.
so UCF SMU.
Yes. This one UCF SMU. I've come back and forth on this, but
Mm.
I know SMU's lost two in a row. Started off undefeated, ranked, laid a couple eggs. I'm still taking the Mustangs here.
Mm. Yeah, those are on the road. This is at home. UCF's still trying to figure themselves out on offense, especially. Defense did pretty well last week, but yeah, I say SMU in a close one.
Really? I'm not surprised. I
Yeah.
thought you'd take UCF, honestly.
No, I go in SMU, but I think it's going to be tight.
Okay. Yeah, it should be
Uh,
fun. And let's hope this
yeah.
one lights up the scoreboard. Let's hope it's not another 14-10.
Yeah,
Although I'm the weird fan, Chris. I
I
love
like
those
that.
games. I
Yeah.
really do. Like when you can look back at a game and you're like, "Oh, a blocked punt was what changed it, and we needed it because it was as good as a touchdown." I'm all in.
Yeah.
I'm crazy like that though. I love defense. I just wait for the day when Kirby Smart's seen as a genius, because he only needed to score 24 a game anyway. All right, so both have SMU.
Hmm.
Do you think there's any chance South Florida beats Cincinnati?
Uh, well, I mean, a small chance because since was it last week or maybe last 2 weeks, they haven't been as impressive. But I still got to go with the Bears on this one.
Yeah, I would say Bearcats. The Bulls just
Bearcats, sorry, good call.
Yeah, I know what you meant. The Bulls just aren't primed for a game like this. I don't think. Jeff Scott would definitely put his stamp on the program if he were to be the team to beat them and knock them out of the playoffs. That would honestly be hilarious, and it would be very American Athletic Conference of them to do so.
Right.
But yeah, Cincinnati's done just enough to kind of get through some of those games where they've had mediocre quarterback play or the defense just isn't quite there. So give me Cincinnati.
Yep. And then we have FAU at Old Dominion. Can the Owls bounce back against an Old Dominion team that blew out FIU?
Mm-hmm.
I think they can. I think they will. It might be a close one though, but I'm going to go the Owls.
Yeah, give me FAU to win game number 6 and get bowl eligible.
That's right.
Why not?
They are bowl eligible for us.
I thought we'd be saying that at the end of November.
Listen, that FSU Florida game that might be who decides between us who goes bowling.
Oh gosh.
But I don't want to. We've talked about that enough. We'll lament it.
FSU needs to win out at this point, so it may determine if Gators go to a bowl. But
yeah.
I don't think Florida State's in one.
Yeah.
They've been fighting for one all year. But
Yeah.
all right.
So who's not going bowling is FIU.
FIU, yes.
On the road to Middle Tennessee.
Give me the Blue Raiders.
Yeah.
In this
Same.
one, I don't. It's kind of like a flip scenario. If they were just to flat out said, Bush Davis, you're out. Like, maybe if this was a decent team, they would turn on the switch and they would win a game for their assistant or something like that. But they're like, we're gonna hang on to the end of the year. It just kind of like doesn't get that switch turned on, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. It's a good point. So, yeah, I agree.
Yep.
I agree. So that's fun.
Right. Well, let's hope that these games give us some energy and some juice. I don't feel like we got it.
No.
This week it was really just like a downer.
I felt it, man.
We had some fun with it, but it was coming from a place of grief and sorrow, so it wasn't quite the excitement you wanted from us. I get it.
It's very tough to root for, but I think a lot of Florida State and Florida fans are feeling the same thing we are. Just kind of just looking for some kind of hope.
Exactly.
Something to cheer for.
I mean, it's a legit question. Who's the best team in the state? Who's the best players? I mean, we have 3 weeks for those to be ironed out, but still.
Struggling to figure it out.
It's not been ideal this year.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not at all.
But anyway, where else can the other fans share their misery and sorrow, Chris?
Yes, please head on down to FloridaFocusPodcast.com and let us know how you feel. If who's going bowling and what other names stick out as far as players of the year and offense, special teams, defense, because it's been tough finding them. So please help us out. If you got any names, shoot them our way.
Yes, please. Patreon.com/FloridaFocusPodcast for your welcoming other Patreons that would love access to early episodes, behind-the-scenes content, and special guests throughout the year. So thank you, Jared and Tyler, for your continued support there. And I think that about wraps up for the week, Chris, unless you have anything else to share with our audience.
I believe that is it. Hopefully, my child will not vomit during the Samford Florida game. Hopefully, it's just jubilation.
I may gag just looking at Miami's jerseys, but that's just that happens every year, so that's nothing new.
So it's a high chance it'll be vomiting.
Too much orange and just too much Miami. Just gross. Just nauseating. But anyway, before I go off another tirade, this is Brandon saying,
Chris, go Gators.